Stephen Milhausen here, Sports Illustrated. He doesn't need too much of an introduction. We're the first outlet to break this news, and I think this is awesome. TNA Wrestling has confirmed with Sports Illustrated that it has signed KC Navarro to a multi-year contract.
Yes.
Too bad you're with AJ Francis. You know, AJ's cool, good guy. We follow each other on the old Twitter machine, but this is, all joking aside, congratulations on this deal. I know this is something you were looking forward to a very long time.
Yeah, man. Since I was 19, I've been kind of in the mix with Impact and TNA, and hard work pays off. A lot of years have gone by since then. I've really busted my ass for this opportunity. It's kind of like Matt Cardona says, right? The always ready, being
Yeah.
always, and it all started at Under Siege this year when I got put in last minute to wrestle Laredo Kid, and it kind of went from there. And I'm just so grateful to finally be a part of TNA.
What do you make of when you're there in 2019? You're making your debut. What are you thinking? You're 19 years old, and you're like probably like, I know when I was 19, I was in college, hustling, trying to get that associate's degree from a community college. You're 19 and just venturing off into the world of professional wrestling in one of the biggest organizations in the entire world.
Yeah.
How does it all come about so young for you?
It was just being ready and just having the opportunity. A company I was wrestling for at the time in Pennsylvania was doing a joint show with TNA, and I just wanted to be a part of it. I didn't care if I didn't get paid that night. I didn't care if I had to fly myself. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to prove that I was going to belong. And even if it wasn't at that time, being that young, I just wanted them to know what was coming. And, at the time, I was able to turn some heads even then. That eventually got me into the Super X Cup in 2020 or 2021. And, like I said, here we are today. It's just, it's very mind blowing to me still. And being 19 to now 25 is just amazing.
What do you remember about that night the most?
That night in 2019?
Yeah.
I remember a lot of nerves, man. It was a 6-way ladder match, actually, for whatever. I think it was for like a briefcase or something at the time for that company. And I just remember being super nervous, like especially right before you go out. It was the biggest crowd that company's had at the time. It was the biggest crowd I've ever wrestled in front of at the time. And I think I had just come back from an injury as well. So I was very, very nervous going into that. I just didn't want to mess up. I just wanted to, showcase what I knew I was capable of. I was kicked out of wrestling school at 15 at a very young age. So I was battling a lot coming into wrestling. So being there 2019 on my own and an opportunity like that, I was just ready to showcase who I was.
You say 15 years old. And I'm reading everything that I got from TNA and doing my own research on you last night. And I think 15, I'm about to try to get my driver's license. I'm about to go to driver's ed. I'm watching pro wrestling because I am a wrestling fan, but I'm not thinking about getting into it. I actually thought about it at 18. Now, what was it about it that you were like, you know what? I'm not even going to wait till I'm 18. I'm going to wait. I'm going to do this right now.
I just always knew, I was bullied very young for loving wrestling. When I moved to a new town, I was about 10, immediately bullied. I remember the first thing I wore was John Cena. The hat, the shirt, the wristbands, all green. And I got bullied immediately and it never stopped. But it was one of those things where I was like, I'm going to use this as motivation. I'm going to prove that I'm going to be something one day. I'm not the biggest guy. That's no secret to anybody. So in school, I was even smaller. And 15 years old, there was a school by me that had an open house. You had to be 18. I remember showing up and telling the guy, listen, this is my dream. I want nothing else. When I graduate high school in 2 years, I don't plan on going to college. I want this. This is all I want. And he looked at me, he took a deep breath, and he was like, if you can get a parent to sign a waiver, I'll let you do it. And it was off to the races from there.
I got an 8 and a 5-year-old, and we're about to put my 8-year-old in wrestling, like I even call it grappling, whatever you want to call it. And she's freaked out. And I'm like, well, he knows it's not TNA and all the other wrestling organizations. He knows it's a lot of grappling, trying to, take people down, trying to score pins, different types of takedowns.
Sure.
And she's worried about that. You go to your mom at 15 and are like, hey, mom, I want to do this. What's the reaction of your mom? Because I know my wife, she's freaked out. I can only imagine what your mom would say at 15, wanting to hit the ropes.
Well, one thing, man, without my mom, I wouldn't be here. My mom was very supportive of it. I mean, obviously at first, I'm looking at her going, I'm not going to college. I want to wrestle when I leave high school, or I want to do it while I'm in high school. And like I already struggled in school as it was, I suffered with ADHD, being dyslexic and stuff growing up. So school wasn't easy for me. And my mom, college, she was all for that. But she knew that I was just different, out of my brothers, out of everybody in my family. I was different. There was a passion there that you just can't explain. And my mom knew I was destined for something. And she just looked at me and she goes, I'm going to support you your whole way. And even when I turned 18, I looked at my mom, I was like, on my 18th birthday, I'm going to wrestle. You can't tell me I can't. I'm 18 now. And she was like, go for it. And I'll never forget that. So without my mom supporting me the way she did, I don't think I'd be here.
It's always the moms.
Yeah.
As much as I love my dad, and he's
Yeah.
a good man. But it's like it's always the mom. But with us boys, it's definitely always mom. So I never just look at my sons and be like, "Oh," I get it. So what does your mom think now? You tell her this big news. You sign a contract with one of the biggest companies in the entire world. What does your mom think?
Man, she's very emotional. She's very, very proud of me. Um, I remember like every time I go on the road somewhere new, my mom's got this thing for unicorns, right? So I'd always get her like a little
Love
unicorn
it.
stuffed animal at the airport and every city. So she's got loads of them, right? And when the day I got off my contract from TNA, I was flying home and that airport just didn't happen to have one. And
Oh
I
no.
time I was wrestling in that area and I came home and I looked at my mom and I go, hey, listen, like I wasn't able to get you a unicorn. My mom was like, oh, it's fine. I go, but I got something better for you. I just got offered a multi-year deal with TNA. And it was just a very emotional moment of, Ma, this is it. Like we're getting there. And my
Yeah.
mom, and for everything that me and my mother have went through, um, yeah, just it gets me emotional. But like, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be here without her. And for me to be able to do something big like this and to see the emotion on her face of just being proud, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed with a great mom.
Because now it's time. You look at it, and I love your journey because, like you said, you're bullied. You wanted to get into this at 15, and now you debut at 19 for TNA, and you had a short little spurt with AEW, and you signed this contract with TNA. And what was it about TNA where you were like, "This is where I need to be. This is where I want to lay my boots and hone my craft for the foreseeable future."
It's everything that TNA is about and everything that they stand for, especially the X division. I've thought it for years. I looked up to guys like AJ Styles, Amazing Red, who I've gotten to wrestle and learn from, guys like that. And that inspired me to be the guy that I am today. And I felt like there was no other wrestling company in the world that had that but TNA.
Yeah.
And, the people that ran it and the people that are behind the scenes, like I just needed to learn from those people. And I knew that that was going to be the place where if I just got the opportunity, I knew that the world would know who I am. And, it was just about the timing and the time is now. And now that I'm here, there's nowhere else I'd really want to be. And I'm ready to prove myself over the next few years.
When do you feel like things clicked with TNA for you? Was it the initial debut, or or is there a specific moment to where you were like, "Hmm, all right, we got something here, and this is where this is going to happen for a while."
I think it was earlier this year at Under Siege where I was definitely sure. I wasn't supposed to be there. I had wrestled Mustafa Ali the week before, and he kind of looked at me. He goes, "Oh, the show is in New York. You're in Jersey, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I got a bunch of shows this weekend. I don't really want to go to just sit." And then
Yeah.
something just hit me that morning of Under Siege. I don't know what it was, and something was just telling me in my heart to go. And I called
Okay.
up my friend, Steve Gibke, another great wrestler who was going to the show. And I was like, hey, man, you heading over there? And he was like, yeah. I was like, pick me up. I'll come. I happened to just put my gear together. I was like, all right, mom, I'm going to TNA. She goes, you wrestling? I'm like, probably not. Get in the car. We drive up there 6 hours. I get there, sitting there for an hour. Nothing happened. We left to go eat. We come back. Next thing you know, I'm told, hey, you got to go get your stuff. You're going to be in the main event of the countdown with Laredo Kid for the digital media title. You have an hour. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's go. And right after that, I just had a gut feeling. And then it was when I went back to Tampa, the Tampa tapings where I wrestled Dante Chen and Zachary Wentz to
Mhm.
qualify for the Ultimate X at Emergence. And it was after that taping where even my sister Diamante looked at me and she was like, this is gonna happen. I have a feeling this something special is happening here. I just have a feeling. I was like, me too. And next thing you know, here we are now.
What if you don't go to Under Siege?
Man, I don't know if I'd be here. Like going under siege was just something like that I was kind of like praying about. Like I'm a big believer in God. I give glory to God for everything that's going on for me. And you know, I, I feel like just that gut feeling was a sign from God, like go, right? I feel like if I would ignore that, I don't think I'd be here. I was going through a very hard time in 2023. I lost a lot personally. I was going through a lot, and to the point that I didn't even want to wrestle anymore just because of what I was going through on a personal level. And I feel like my journey from then to the point of Under Siege, like I feel like if I didn't get that feeling and just listen to it, like that was the first time I really listened to my gut, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go. Like I don't think I'd be here today. So
What was going on with you to where you got to that point where you're like in 2023 where you were like, maybe this isn't it anymore? What was going on with you that made you almost quit wrestling?
Um, I just had like a lot of things with my family, and I just felt like I wasn't home enough. I needed to be there for them. I was with a girl for many years who wound up leaving, and then it was just like a lot, like a normal thing that most guys go through. And wrestling just like nothing was happening. Like it felt like things were happening, but for me on my personal level, it was like what I want isn't happening. Everybody's saying, "Oh, you're doing all these great things, but you're going international, blah blah blah." But to me, it was like there's something just not clicking. I don't know what's going on. And then with all that stuff piling on top, I just felt like I wasn't getting to that next level I needed to be at. And it was January 1st where I was like, this needs to happen. And then it was a moment in May where I said out loud for the first time, I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to get signed to TNA. I said that earlier this year in April, and here we are now. And I'm just very blessed.
They always say, back in the Attitude Era, and you can even make this point until around, we'll call it the 2010 era, like in 2010. Styles was always the the end all be all. When I grew up, it was the era of Hulkamania and the Ultimate Warrior, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock.
Right.
Now it's guys like yourself, like you said, the Mustafa Ali's, the CM Punks, the Brian Danielsons, to where size really doesn't matter. It's more
Yeah.
about the skill in the ring and making that instant connection with the fans.
Sure.
Did you ever feel it all starting out that size would be a detriment, or did you feel like because of those guys I mentioned and many, many others, I don't want to disregard anybody, but you feel like because of that, your size wouldn't be held against you?
You know, I at first, like in the beginning, I was like, wow, everybody's so much bigger than me. You walk in wrestling school, I'm 15, I'm like 5 foot, and everybody is like 6 foot and 30 years old. And I'm like, I can't match these guys. And then you're watching the guys you're watching on TV, like my favorites are like Roman Reigns, he's like what, 6'3, Matt Cardona, another one's like 6'1. None of these guys were really under the height of 6 foot that I looked up to. So that got me a little worried. But then when I saw guys like Red and like Leo Rush, for example, guys that are my size, I'm like, well, if they can do it and like Rey Mysterio can do it, why can't I do it? And I also thought that there was something different about me where I possessed a little more than just wrestling. Like I feel like I'm very creative. I feel like the way that I can tell a story and be on the microphone and go above and beyond for what I want. I really believed in myself. And so like size didn't always get to me, maybe in the beginning, but not always.
Recently you got to be in the ring with one of your heroes
Yeah.
in the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Nemeth. And
Yeah.
what was that experience like for you? Because you teamed up with AJ against
Yes.
Nick and against Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry. And what was that experience like for you?
It was so wild. Like I didn't even get to digest it, like that it was all happening. Like it didn't really hit me until I think I went back to my hotel room where I was like, I I just wrestled Nick Nemeth. I just wrestled Dolph Ziggler today. Wow. Like it didn't hit me right away. But I can say that when I was in there, I can I can feel you when you're in the ring with somebody, you can feel when there's a chemistry there, and you can feel when you know, man, I'd have banger with this person, man. And like being in there with Dolph, I studied Dolph to a T, the way he sells, the way he does things. And when I got to see the match back last Thursday, I'm like, wow, like the way that we both sell, the way we took each other's stuff, like if we did ever have a singles match, it'd be amazing and a dream match for me, obviously. And just for TNA to give me that little taste of that, just lit more of a fire than there was, like since coming into TNA, I've been getting thrown into some pretty big matches. So all it's been doing is burning a fire even more. Like, yep, I signed with the company, but the work just starts now and the fire's only getting bigger now. So I was very grateful for that opportunity.
Who wins that main event at Bound for Glory between Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry? Being in the ring with both of them, seeing what they're all about, who do you think walks out? Who do you think leaves Michigan the TNA World Heavyweight Champion?
Well, I do got to say, Joe nearly threw me out of the ring. He is a strong man. He slammed AJ like it was nothing. Uh, Nick, though, has the experience, like, so if I'm really going to go with anybody, honestly, as much as many people believe in Joe Hendry,
Why
I
not?
don't personally,
What?
but,
Wow.
the only thing that I can agree on is Joe wants Eminem to be in Detroit. Okay, I'll agree with Joe there. Other than that, I gotta say, I think Nick Nemeth walks out still the world champion.
Wow. You don't believe?
I do not believe. No.
Wow. This interview was going.
Listen,
I'm just
listen.
looking at my
Joe did
phone now.
not pin me. Okay, Joe didn't pin me. Nick did.
We've been
Just
doing
saying.
this interview for almost 15 minutes. I'm vastly disappointed. We're at 13 minutes,
Just
and
gotta be real.
this was going so good. And you got to besmirch.
If I can, on a side note, give credit where credit is due. The way that Joe does his stuff, nobody can compare, man. I mean, he is a workhorse. I've been in other locker rooms with him outside of TNA and just seeing how he works, how he's working on his social media, what he's going to do next. It's inspiring. I got to give him that. However, until he beats me, I don't believe in Joe Hendry, and he didn't pin me. So,
Okay.
anyway, I guess a somewhat round of applause. Other than that, yeah, yeah,
It's a little condescending. But we have another beef here, and I've noticed this. And because I'm based out of Chicago,
okay.
you are a Miami Heat fan.
Oh, die hard, baby. Look at that. Look at that. Shout out to the PA announcer, Michael Biamonte. That's my guy.
Man, I love Dwayne Wade. Me and him were friendly for a very long time. We went to the same high school. We remained friends for a while, and we still talk once in a blue moon. And he even knows I am a Chicago Bulls fan.
Okay.
Always will be. Man, Miami Heat. You could in that turncoat Jimmy Butler.
I love
There could be better basketball teams to like than the Miami KC.
Nah, man. What's funny? Miami Heat's part of my story, man. They're part of my story. Like,
how so?
I grew up loving them. Like when I grew up, like I said, I was bullied. I had no friends. Nobody wanted to be my friend. So the only thing I had was Miami Heat basketball and professional wrestling. That was it. So watching guys like Dwayne Wade, Shane Battier, all those guys play, those were my guys. Growing up, what the team was all about, being the most conditioned, the hardest working, like their whole mantra, like that inspired me. Like when I travel, I have a towel with me and it's that mantra on the towel. So I can remind myself of what I'm doing because it just inspires me. And just the way that the team is, I'm very blessed to have like a small relationship with the team. I've gone to many playoff games. Many people have seen me. I've sat with A-Rod. It's my guy. So, but just watching how hard that team like works and their grit. I've gotten to have a tour of that facility and got to see them practice. Like they're no joke. Like outside, like they're all about Heat culture. Like that Heat culture stuff is very inspiring to me on a personal level.
Will Alex Rodriguez make the Hall of Fame?
Huh?
Will Alex Rodriguez make the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. He was one of my favorite Yankees, but I feel like it's so up in the air for so many people. I hope he does, but I don't know.
Hey, I hope the Yankees crush the bejesus out of the Guardians.
I hope the Yankees win the whole thing.
That was where I was. You already. But what if it's the Mets? No. Okay.
I don't do blue and orange. I don't do blue and orange in any sport. So you can tell Brian Myers that I don't do blue and orange.
Couple more questions, Casey. Thank you so much for the time today. It's greatly appreciated. And What would you say now that the deal is signed, it's sealed and delivered? What would you say to all those people that were mean to you and bullied you in your youth? What is that? What message do you have for them?
I guess I would say thank you. Um, I feel like if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be here. I think if I had the easy road, all the friends, I don't know if it would have been the same journey. And I am so grateful for my journey. I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Uh, a part of me would say I told you so, but I think I'm better than that.
Yeah,
Um, the only thing I would say now is, I forgive you and just support me on my journey. Uh, Other than that, I don't really have much to say to them.
have any of them ever reached out to you or seen your mom and are like, man, we're so proud of Casey, or they come up to you and be like, man, you're doing so good. We're proud of you. You get any of that? You get any of that at all, or no?
It's been happening more recently,
Oh, of
especially
course, of
the
course.
TNA things. And I just stay humble, man. I just say thank you. I appreciate it, and I kind of move on. It actually happened. When unfortunately everything happened with Spartanburg, I'm still praying for all the families
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely.
Everything kept getting pushed back for the TNA tapings. I was able to go to both my brothers played varsity football at the high school I went to, and I was able to go. And I showed up and I got, I saw a couple people that I went to school with, and it was kind of the same things. Oh man, my brothers watch you, and I'm so proud of you, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, well, I appreciate it, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't forget what you used to say to me. Like what you did kind of lit a fire and it hurt me. I mean, at times where I didn't even want to live because of how
Mm-hmm.
bad the bullying was, all because I wanted to be a wrestler. I thought it was a little excessive. But I just kind of nod my head. I thank them and I just move on.
I think it's always the best way to handle it. I always tell my children, I'm like, if you get that, just rise above it, plow forward, and when you're succeeding, you just say thank you, move forward, and don't even think about it. It's not even worth the headspace, especially in this day of age.
Yeah.
It's like gotta. It's hard, but
Yeah,
you still have to plow forward at the end of the day.
exactly.
You know, we'll finish up with some stuff with AJ and what this pairing. And I seen a photo recently, and AJ's a tall guy. AJ's a very, very tall man.
Big man.
Big man. Man, if you guys try to go to, and I have to ask this because you look like you're about 16. Let's just be, and it's no knock on AJ. You can tell looks good. You can tell he's a little bit older. That beard really does it.
Mm.
Do you ever get called like, "Oh, is that your son?"
No.
Like,
No.
okay, good.
Oh,
I
thank
wanted to
God,
make
no.
sure because I was like, and the reason I say that is my, like I was looking through my phone and my son saw it. He's like, is that like a father son, dad? And I'm explaining to him, and I'm like, no, does that look like it? And he's like, who's that? I'm like, oh, that's Casey Navarro. And he's like, that's AJ, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, they look like they're related. So I told him we were talking this morning. And he's like, can you ask that? Because I have to know. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, I always try to throw a bone to him in every interview because
Sure.
he does watch, and I know he will. And he'll be like, did you really do it? And I'm like, here
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nope, that's not my dad. That is definitely not my dad. I like to compare me and him to Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo. That's how I like to compare me and him to.
Why is that? I like that comparison.
Well, first Scrappy's the smaller one, Scooby's the bigger one. Scooby's kind of like the leader and kind of like does what he's got to do. Where Scrappy's like, yeah, man, yeah, 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 you heard Scooby, yeah. Like I feel like that's me. I play off that
Yeah.
that same little scrappiness.
What have you learned? What have you? Because he had a good run in WWE that was cut short, and he's had a really good run here since debuting with TNA earlier this year. What What have you learned from him?
Maximizing my minutes and making the best out of every situation that you're in, any opportunity you get, making the best of it. That's one thing that I have to give him that I learned. And this isn't my first run on TV, but it's like my first real time being on TV full time. I'm very blessed that I've gotten opportunities to do TV at a very young age, but I never had the opportunity to have a full run on television. So
Yeah.
learning from him now, being with him and paired with him, he always shows me and tries to tell me different ways to maximize my minutes and enjoy the ride and do whatever I can to stand out for sure.
And we'll end with this. What is the goal with this contract? What goals do you have in mind during this extended run, signing this multi-year deal with TNA Wrestling?
First, it's to definitely inspire anybody that doesn't believe that they're enough or they're not big enough. I think I'm capable of doing many big things. Um, Definitely want to bring the tag team titles to first class. I definitely 110% want to become the X Division champion. I have a set goal. It's at the top of my list. If there's anything I'm going to do before this is over, is I'm going to become the X Division champion. It was one reason that I came to TNA. It's one reason I always loved TNA. So that's definitely the biggest goal for me, is to become the X Division champion eventually.
You can watch TNA Wrestling every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on Access TV. And the big event coming up October the 26th, TNA Bound for Glory out in Detroit, Michigan. This is a big event. I'm looking forward to it live on pay-per-view and on TNA Plus. Are we getting you on this show? Because if not, I'm politicking for you, Mr. Navarro. I have not heard anything yet. I've been checking my social media. I've been checking in. No one has given me this indication yet if you are going to be wrestling on TNA Bound for Glory, the 2024 edition from Wayne State University Fieldhouse in Detroit, Michigan.
Well, like I always tell my blessings around the world, just keep praying on it. You never know where I'm going to show up next. Obviously, you know it's going to be TNA, but am I going to be a Bound for Glory? Well, you got to buy the pay-per-view or show up in Detroit to find out and get blessed next.
Now, they may get on you because you're a Heat fan. Where you're going to be at diehard Pistons, and, especially if those Yankees make the World Series, those Tiger fans are a little ruthless too. Just to give you a heads up. I don't know when the last time you were in Detroit was, but
hey, don't hype me up. I'll come out with a Yankees jersey and Miami Heat shorts on. Don't play with me. I'll do it.
Ooh, that's the best heel here. Fans don't like that. I don't know why. The fans get all undone about it's just a jersey, it's just shorts, and just you're mentioning another team that's not your name. It's like the easiest heat in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, Casey, this is the first time we've ever chatted. This has been great. Thank you so much for the time today. It does mean a lot. A big congratulations as you have signed officially a multi-year deal with TNA Wrestling. Congratulations on the deal. Thank you for the precious time. It means a lot. I'm looking forward to Bound for Glory. I'm looking for you and AJ win those tag titles. Then you go win the X Division title. You can be a simultaneous. You can be a champ.
Hey, I'll do it. I'll do it.
So let's get on TNA management here and let's get this moving.
Yes, sir. Well, listen,
All
man.
right, Casey.
Hey, listen. I appreciate you for wanting to cover this. It means a lot to me with this being my first major contract with a company I've always wanted to be with. So I greatly appreciate you covering this story. So thank you.
No, thank you, sir, and have a great rest of the day, Casey. And we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, my man. Stay blessed.